This is a video that Mike Girvin made over the weekend. Customers can make 0 or several purchases per month, and we want to know what is the most that a customer has purchased in a single month for the year. So let's go over and look at Mike's data. First of all, we have these two columns, customer ID and the customer, that goes together. And now we have the transactions, the date of the purchase, the customer ID who made the purchase, and the sales amount, the amount that they spent. And Mike solved it in two different ways. His first way was to use an array formula. Now this is brilliant because it's a single cell that gets that answer. But you can tell in here that this is quite a complicated formula for most people to understand, including myself. I'll have to watch the video again to make sure I understand it perfectly. But it's great because it's just one cell that answers everything for us. The second way is to create a pivot table. So over here we have this pivot table. Mike split it simply by the customer ID in the row label, and across the top in the columns we have the months. And now in the math area, or the values area of the pivot, we drop in the sales, we add it up, and now we have how much each customer spent per month. So back over here, there's one final tiny formula, the max function, that says, hey, look into our pivot and pull out the biggest value. That answers the question. This is the biggest amount that a single customer spent in a single month. Now, I was thinking, is there a way that we can create a dynamic solution that's easier for others to understand? So no pivot to refresh, but also easier to explain to someone if we create the solution for someone else that has, let's say, pretty low Excel skills. So here would be my step one. We want to take these dates and keep the year and the month, but the day over on the right-hand side, we want to take that all down to the first day of the month. So over here is our first helper column, and I use this quite simple formula to simply truncate or take these dates, take away the day, make the day always be equal to 1. That's all it does. Step number 2, we want to have a helper column for every month. Now, this solution only works if we have a limited number of months. We wouldn't want to have 500 of these columns. It would defeat the purpose of keeping it easy. But in this case, there's only 12 months. The data is only for the year 2016. So we go here, we use the min function to get the minimum date, or the first date, and when we go to the right, we're simply adding 1 month as we go over to the right. Third step. Now what we want to do is calculate the sales per customer per month. And we're going to use the SUMIFS function. Pretty simple function. Let's look at this one, for example. Click in here. So the first part is the sum range. We are adding up column T over here when our first criteria is that column S, which is the customer ID, every time that these guys equal customer ID. In this case, it's number 1. So that's the criteria over here in column A. And then column Q, which is our truncated dates, always going back to the first of the month. These guys have to be equal to the month above here, which is our column header. So that's all it does. And it adds up per month, per customer, the amount. And the final step over here is simply to say, all right, calculate the largest value of the step above. So that's what this does right here. This helper is simply saying, look in our SUMIFS, pull out the biggest one, and that is our answer. So we have the helper column approach, we have the pivot table going back to here, the pivot table with the max function, and we have the array. 3 different ways to do it, and if we go over here, we can compare the solutions. I'm going to have a post about this. You can download this later on, and there's some comments in here, but any of these solutions could be good depending on what you need it to do.